And welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and Scott Kirshner. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. 419-794-3030. Online, Americasretirementheadquarters.com. If you missed previous editions of the show, you missed the segment with Brandon Hawkins from the Toledo Walleyes. You can always check via podcast. Always available. Just search for America's Retirement Headquarters, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, what have you. If you want more information about the upcoming Economic Summit next Wednesday, October 5th, at the Perrysburg Hilton Garden Inn, go to americasretirementheadquarters.com. Just click on the events tab, find out more information, including how to go ahead and reserve your space for that. Now, guys, the top three increases in prices, it's no doubt, I think everyone knows that things cost more these days than they used to, but the top three increases in prices since 2000, hospital services, college tuition, and medical services. So 2 out of 3 of those are increased costs in healthcare. So I know your office spends a lot of time helping clients navigate the healthcare field, and today we're pleased to be joined by Haley Studer from Akai, Akai Changing Lives and Transforming Healthcare. So welcome to the show, Haley, and guys, I'll let you take over.
Well, you're absolutely right, Chris. Boy, wasn't Brandon fun?
Yeah, what a great time.
Yeah, that was a great interview and a great time, and I'm going to tell you, he looks like he could put a hurting on somebody. That was a lot of fun. Well, speaking of putting a hurting on somebody, healthcare and these rising costs is just really something that you really have to stay on top of. And I want to welcome you, Haley. And we talked a little bit before we started the segment here, and you and I have a lot in common when it comes to helping people and managing their healthcare cost. So why don't you take a few minutes and just give us a little background on yourself, tell us a little bit about what Akai is, and then we'll get into some more pinpoint questions that might be able to help people out.
Great. Thanks, Scott. First, thanks, Nolan and Scott, for having me today.
Sure.
It's a pleasure to be here. My background is mostly in healthcare finance. So
Okay.
I graduated from Bowling Green State University, so another BG alum.
Mm-hmm.
And my degree was in healthcare administration and accounting. And so started out on the accounting side of things, and then spent about 20 years of my career at a large health system working on the reimbursement and revenue cycle side. So spent a lot of time with Medicare, Medicaid regulations, understanding the payment systems, how we bill for healthcare services, how we get paid for those. And after doing that for a while, just felt called to do something a little different and a little bit more mission-based. So left that career and really took a 180 and spent the next 3.5 years as a chief mission officer for a corporation. And so really learned about our communities, the social problems that we were seeing, how to bring different groups of people together to address those issues, understanding poverty, understanding social determinants of health. Determinants of health really being those external factors that affect your health and well-being. So research shows that those social determinants issues make up about 60 to 80% of your health and well-being. And so started to see the importance of that and the large impact that those issues such as education, transportation, social connectedness, access to healthy food, financial security, those types of issues we're having on someone's overall health and well-being. And so after doing that for a while, just started connecting the dots in my head to kind of my old life in the healthcare finance world and this new social side, and saying there's got to be a better way to do healthcare. And so I left that position and started Akai about 2.5 years ago.
Wonderful. Well, that's awesome. So I remember back, I don't even know how many years ago, so I don't want to put a date on it, but I remember when the health insurance companies through your employers would actually promote a healthy lifestyle. So they would actually incentivize you to actually go through for your well checkups, and they would maybe give you a stipend for a gym membership and things like that. This is really kind of playing exactly what you're talking about, right? I mean, that healthy lifestyle, so to keep you out of the hospital, to keep you away from the doctor, the apple a day, right?
Right.
Kind of that whole concept. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yep, similar concept, but with a little bit of a different focus.
Okay.
So if you look at your traditional wellness type programs, and I hate using the term wellness programs for what we're doing because wellness programs just have such a bad rap in general.
Right.
So what we're really looking at is getting to that root cause of the issues that are impacting your health and well-being. So today in America, we spend just under $4 trillion in healthcare, which is just an astonishing number from my standpoint.
Sure.
And we don't get the quality and outcomes that we want to see. So if you rank our healthcare system with those across the world, with other industrialized countries, we do not rank very high when it comes to overall healthiness of our nation. And so, but we're spending almost $4 trillion a year on that. So really what we focus on is getting to the root cause problems and really understanding someone's story. So getting back to what is causing them to go to the emergency room, to
Sure.
be admitted to the hospital, what's causing those issues besides just, kind of your overall genetics and that other 20 to 40% of the issues, but that 60 to 80%, how do we address those issues? And how do we make sure that we put programs in place and connect people with resources to address that aspect to help keep them healthier?
It seems like to me that one of the things is so easy today for us to just throw a pill.
Yes.
Let me just give you a pill that'll take care of it, right? And,
Absolutely.
I remember, and not that it wasn't an issue, but I remember in school, I can never remember ever having Ritalin or any of these
Right.
medications back when we were in school. And now these young kids, there's so many of them on some sort of medication to kind of help them cope with their day-to-day lives and the school and everything going on. To me, that just kind of is crazy. And I think you'll agree that it's, the healthcare providers and these physicians, and I'm not bad-mouthing anybody because they all do a great job, right? But it's easy to just throw a pill, a Band-Aid on something, right?
Yes.
So one of the things, my mother is with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? And she's 84 years old. She gets out of the hospital, and she gets a phone call from a case manager at Anthem. And this is a Medicare Advantage plan, right? She gets a phone call from a caseworker, and they basically say, I understand that you were admitted to the hospital, and now that you're home, we have some of these services that you can use. Tell me a little bit about those services, because I know you know about those services. You're working with a few companies and that, and I know that Anthem and all of these companies out there, but I know for a fact with Anthem because I get the phone calls too. They're proactive in trying to keep our seniors healthy. Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the companies are really starting to change that focus and to address things more proactively, and that's really what we're about. It's that proactive approach, and that's an engagement. So really meeting people where they're at, where I think sometimes we miss the mark with some of the traditional programs, especially on a care management side and a case management side, is with a narrow focus. So we really work hard to look at things holistically. And so when you are reaching out to a patient and maybe post-discharge checking on medication adherence, it's not just do they have access to the medication? Did they get their medications refilled? Do they have them? But can they take them? Do they have food in the house with them? Do they have transportation or a way to get the medication if they don't have it or once they need a refill? Do they have the mental capacity or connections to know what time to take the medication, to read the side effects or know if they have a side effect. Those different things really, again, trying to just make sure that we meet someone where they're at so we understand the full picture. And so it's asking a lot of questions, and it gets back to that root cause and why. Why is this occurring? Why did somebody not take their medication? Not just that they forgot about it, but maybe there are other extenuating circumstances and other factors going on. So getting to that, going deeper, I guess, than maybe just a normal care management program.
Right. It's kind of, if you think about, your mom's situation with losing dad, and just, things that I've been looking at for a lot of years, one of the things that I always encourage our senior population is to stay engaged, right?
Yes, absolutely.
If we look at social isolation for the elderly, I think there's been a big impact. In fact, there's also been probably a big impact even on the younger generation because we had so much isolation with the pandemic and, what's happened. And, have always encouraged our elderly clients to get more involved and do things and get in something where you're getting out and being actively involved. One of the questions that I was wondering is, what have things changed really in the arena since the pandemic that you've seen?
Great question. I would say two things that really stand out. First of all is just the conversation with employers in general. So in the beginning, so I launched the company in March of 2020, of all amazing timing, just as everything was shutting down. And as I started to have conversations with employers just prior to that, in kind of January and February of 2020, it was a lot of explaining what does social determinants mean and why do I care as an employer? One thing that the pandemic has done is really shown a bright spotlight on the health and social inequities that we have across our communities. So everything is not the same. We have a lot of disparities, and we understand social determinants and the impact that that has on someone's health and well-being much more than we did 2.5 years ago. And then also with social isolation and loneliness specifically, especially in our elderly population, and really in our younger population too. I would say we have two extremes there of two generations that really have been deeply impacted by some of the policies and the shutdowns and everything else of not being able to connect with others. And so one of the things that we have done is started to connect college students with socially isolated older adults to not just for friendly calling check-in programs, and there are a lot of those out there, and that's great. That's certainly a start, but really to have engaging conversations and be able to reminisce and share stories. And I think everything we do gets back to that understanding someone's story and the importance of that, and
Right.
understanding the uniqueness of an individual to engage them in those conversations. And so having those conversations from a reminiscent standpoint, we've started to roll in photos to that and doing more photo reminiscence and seeing the benefit of that piece, and just seeing those bonds built between college students and a younger generation with these older adults. And the amazing things that have happened
Right.
as a result of those programs have been incredible.
If anybody would like to actually reach out to Haley, her email address is appearing on the screen there for you that are watching us on Facebook. But, Nolan, you bring up a good point. And we always try to keep, even with the financial services and with me with health insurance, is keep engaged. You want to stay engaged, and some of the things, some of the ways that we can actually help reduce the cost of healthcare is one, look to save money on medications. One of the services that I offer through AMA is actually going out and on Medicare.gov, and I'll actually assist a client with putting in all their medications. There are like 128 different plans to choose from. Well, I mean, you got someone that's 65 years old, they got to worry about signing up for Medicare. They got to worry about whether or not they're going to retire. They don't know exactly what's going on. This is, one of the services we offer is saving money on medications. The other thing is use your benefits. And one of the areas I think, like what you're doing and what the phone calls that my mother received, a lot of people have no idea all of the benefits that these advantage plans offer, or the benefits that their supplemental policies have as well. And stay engaged. If you don't know, if you're not being contacted by an advisor to do an annual review, because AEP is coming up here a couple of weeks, you're missing the boat on some of the benefits that are out there. Plan ahead. Plan ahead for emergency and urgent care services. This is another way to save money. You may not need it right now, but there may become a point in time in 5 years down the road where you have that emergency service of some sort of urgent care. Ask about outpatient facilities. One of the things, and I think this is across the board, it's kind of like staying engaged. And my daughter needed to have an MRI. Well, I've got a $4,000 deductible. So what do? I'm proactive, and I go out and I look at all of the different facilities, and I price it out myself. Stay engaged and look at the different facilities out there. Choose in-network providers. This is one big way to make sure that you're actually getting the biggest bang for your buck. And just simply take care of your health.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Stay healthy.
Yep. And one of the things that we really try and concentrate on is just connecting people with resources in the community. walking through this with my in-laws several years ago, I was not aware of so many resources that were out there. Wood County specifically just does a phenomenal job of senior resources and senior services, and that our property taxes pay for. So we have a levy that is on our ballot every few years that we've supported and had no idea of the amount of services that provides to our local seniors. And so when we got in that situation with my in-laws, just starting to reach out and learn about what was out there and the incredible things that could help them and really help us from a family supporting them as well.
Yeah, I went to, a week ago, I did an event out in Wayne, Ohio, okay? You go to Bowling Green, turn left, and it's out there somewhere, right? But one of the things that when I was talking to the administrator there, that Wood County supplies all of the food for these seniors every day at the local church they had there. And, it was a great opportunity for these people to come in and stay, engaged with each other, let alone, get some lunch there, So a couple more things real quick is choose a health plan that's right for you. That is really, really what I do, and why I love what I do, is that I help people choose the right plan that's going to meet all of their needs. Use a health savings account. We've talked about that several times, and Nolan and I are firm believers that, health savings accounts are awesome. I've got some clients that have $40,000-$50,000 in balances in their health savings accounts. Their out-of-pocket expenses are going to be paid for, but through your employer, if you can afford to contribute to a health savings account, I would encourage anybody to do so. Well, that's kind of, Nolan, you have any more questions or anything else that we can ask Haley?
No, I think that's really good. One of the great things about, listening to the conversation is, we at America's Retirement Headquarters have the ability to help people on an individual basis. We're going to be talking about some of the changes. So healthcare is something that impacts all of us, whether it's a company, whether it's an individual. And it's, one of those things that if not set up correctly could completely destroy all the investments, financial planning, and business planning that you've done if you don't walk through the thought process of this. So one of the things we're going to be talking about changes to the healthcare landscape at our economic summit. Again, that's October 5th over at the Hilton Garden Inns in Perrysburg. You can get that detail on our website, Americasretirementheadquarters.com. Now, in addition to that, I know Scott has several events planned coming up at different senior facilities that we have in town, as well as some dinner events. All of those details you can register. So if healthcare is an area that you want to focus on, whether it's, learning as an individual, learning what you can do to help with mom and dad and their situation, and or, as a business owner, figuring that out. We've got different events. We try to make that information really easy to get to. Again, Americasretirementheadquarters.com. And I guess as I wrap up maybe this segment of our show, any final thoughts or any comments, Haley, that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think it's just a great point of what you said, Nolan and Scott, just staying engaged. So knowing your benefits, knowing what's out there. The Medicare Advantage plans specifically have been allotted quite a bit of freedom over the last couple years of what Medicare allows them to pay for when it comes to social determinant type issues. And each plan gets to choose what they invest in, what services they offer. Could be similar to a silver sneakers, could be transportation for more than just prescriptions or access to food. It could be programs like engaging with younger adults and different things from that social connectedness and engagement standpoint. So understanding your benefits and understanding what's out there and then utilizing them. There really are a lot of great options to stay healthy and engaged, and making sure that one, you're aware of the things, and if not, ask, because there are a lot of people that can help with that, and then utilizing the things that are made available.
That's awesome. I come across that when I do my presentations with clients, and I'll go through a new client and they'll go, "Oh my gosh, you mean my mom or my dad might have that benefit?"
Right.
It's shocking to me the number of people that just don't know what they really have.
Correct.
So you're spot on. Well, thank you very much, Haley. I really, Nolan and I both appreciate you coming in, and best of luck to you in the future.
Thank you for having me.
Haley Studer and Akai, both committed to the 419. You can find out more by going to akaisolutions.com. That's ACHI solutions.com. There's more to come here on America's Retirement Headquarters. When we come back, we're going to tell you how often you should be rebalancing your portfolio. That conversation happens after this.